It's Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Welcome to Steve's Place. And tonight we have a very interesting talk on JIVAWATER coming up. Um, and but before we get to that, I'd like to remind everyone we have the conference coming up August 7th to 11th at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Albuquerque. And I hope everyone can be there. The discount right now is supposed to be 40%, but if you sign up by next week, I'll let you have it for 45% off. Um, Try to call me directly if you can, 520 463 1994. We'll get the office and we'll get you signed up for it, or you can go to the website and sign up for it. I also want to remind you all I have a call for papers out. I'm looking for young speakers, new speakers on tested technology, everything from tested technology to all aspects of water. We cover it all, and we'd like to see a lot more papers coming in. Uh, the sooner you get the abstracts in, the better, even though we are kind of past November 30th. Man, that month passed by so fast. Um, we're still accepting papers in that, you know. And we're looking for speakers. We're looking for sponsors, exhibitors, the works. If you have any questions, feel free to call me at 520-252-0374. That's my cell phone. And I'm available 24/7. And last but not least, I'd like to encourage everyone to join our YouTube channel. We have over 30 years of innovative ideas in energy and health up there. We have all of the extraordinary technology conferences except for 2023 up there. We have the exotic research conferences up there. And we have the global science congresses up through 1998 up there. So there's a lot of material up there. And you're going to find that we have a lot of members only for two reasons. One, it helps support the conferences and that. But in another way, it avoids censorship. YouTube is a big censor, and one of the ways we avoid it is put everything as members only if it's controversial, and they're okay with that. It's just when we make it free to the public, they get upset about that, and they get very picky, So I encourage everyone to sign up. And first of all, subscription is free, and the subscription is free. It's $9.99 to see the member only video. So to get to it, go to testedtech.info, and you'll see this big yellow box on the right hand side of the screen, and you click on that. They'll take you right to the channel. For those who don't know, you click on Visit Steve Place Live. It gets you here directly from there, and you can also check out our conference and speaker directories if you know what you're looking for and want a fast way to them. So, again, I encourage everyone to join. It's $9.99. It's a real bargain. I mean, if you buy a DVD, it'll cost at least $19 plus shipping and handling. So you're saving quite a bit if you get like a couple of videos a year. If you just become a member, you can watch them right online, on YouTube, and you're helping us, maintain our status and everything in the world, and help. And the other thing I ask is, don't make us the best kept secret in science. Let other people know about us and how to get hold of us. Let them know about the conference. Let them know about the call for papers, and most importantly, let them know about the YouTube channel. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm going to bring up our guests. Tonight we have Krishna, Madappa, and Karen Elkins, and they're going to speak all about the JIVAWATER. But before I forget, don't forget, if you like the show and everything, go to the bottom of the page there and give us a thumbs up on the on the like thing, because it helps us with the search engines and everything. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. That also helps. And anyway, welcome Welcome, Karen and Krishna.
Thank you, Steve, for inviting us onto your show.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
and
Thank
here's
you very much, Steve.
okay. So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Krishna?
Ah, so first, greetings to all across the US, across the various zones of our planet. Just a brief and quick introduction. I was born and raised in India and have now relocated to the US and been here for a little over 50 years. My background has been in the field of engineering sciences, mechanical and industrial engineering. And after that, I continued going deeper into the deeper understanding about in physics, more related to the areas that inspired Richard Feynman, quantum electrodynamics, and from there, a deeper study into the science of light. And so that's an overview. But what I would really like to share with all today is how the actual journey to what we have today with Jiva and Jiva water has begun. So, a broader overview starts with the integration of art, science, and spirit, because these three are fundamental to life, and which is what Nicholas Roerich wrote back in 1930s. Nicholas Roerich had a treaty called the Roerich Treaty. He said, irrespective of war or peace, the highest ideals of human potential should be honored and implemented through art, through science, and spirit. And in 1935, 21 countries signed the treaty, which was chaired by President Roosevelt and many South American nations. Today, there's a broader spectrum of the world who have subscribed to this treaty of Nicholas Roerich. So deep inside, in all our hearts and our minds, this should be our fundamental focus, where science is here for the benefit of life at
Okay.
large. So a broader spectrum in terms of an overview, which I could continue on, but Steve, you have something to share.
Yeah, I'd like to also introduce Karen.
Oh well,
Yes.
okay. And here's the beauty. I do a magazine called Science to Tage. I've also written a book on called Inside Out, and it really bridges the science of the alchemy of life between water, fire, air, and the elements that actually create anything. I met Krishna years ago when I was doing basically issues related to water and the science of light and light. And what I'd like to reinforce a little bit more for the aspect of why the idea of water and Krishna as and the science of life, when we look at the basic elements of nature, it's water, fire, air. And water, which is what he is sort of bringing to the world to sort of heal a lot of the missions of the planet right now, is water. And the water holds memory. Water holds the wisdom of nature. We have taken and flatlined so much of our water that, as somebody who does the magazine Science to Sage and done a ton of stuff on water, I met Krishna when he was also working on the GDV device, which actually shows the science of light and life. And it can bring it out, whether it's the geometry in the plants and the vitality of what you're eating to the vitality of what you're drinking. So we literally drink light, whether it's geometry of the food, the geometry of the water, which we saw with Dr. Emoto's work. But Krishna Madappa's work is extraordinary because it actually brings to life the unseen nature of what it is that actually moves life and light. So that's my thought. And again, I do a magazine called Science to Tage. I've had the privilege of meeting many people, and one of the most extraordinary people I've met is Krishna.
So, Krishna, here's your presentation here, and I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you run with it.
There you
Okay,
go.
all right. Thank you, Karen. I mean, the extraordinary bit. I mean, we are all extraordinary.
Everybody's extraordinary, but some people give a bigger gift to the world in the sense of revealing the light and the science, which most people, it's the mystery, it's the subtle energies most people don't see. And Krishna, that's something that you have done in spades. And so for me, without you, the magazine would not have the same revelation. So we can go through there. So, Steve, go ahead and turn the page, because this is like the beginning sort of cover. But what I do love about that is JIVAWATER turbocharges life. And I will say this, Krishna, over his 30 years of decades working with water, has worked with many different kinds of devices, but over the years, what has happened, he has taken the best of everything, and we'll go through that, and solving a lot of the world's issues that we have relative to water and farming and light and the energy that we're sort of like missing at the moment. So Krishna, why don't you take it from there?
Okay. So since Steve shared earlier that our collective audience are going to be very engineering driven, very technical, I'd like to also share and start with principles that really underlie deep insights as to how we have birthed our devices. So, over the years, I would say almost 3 decades of exploration, to me, the early works of Nikola Tesla saying that if we are to truly understand the nature of life, we need to look at what is the quanta of energy through frequency and vibration. But what was even more intriguing was the fact that if we were to study all material sciences through a non-linear window, we will learn more in 1 year than all the science that we have done to date. That led me on a journey that in the late 90s I met with the Konstantin Korotkov. Konstantin, we met in India. So he had just brought out his new development of the gas discharge visualization technology. And so we ended up interacting very closely together ever since, and which has now been well over 25 years and in various levels. So to me, it became fundamental that, one, we are governed by water. And this is the work of Albert Szent-Györgyi. He said, if we are to understand the nature of life, we need to also look at the electron configurations inside of complex molecular structures. And when Szent-Györgyi also said that water is the mother and matrix of life. So to me, this became a fascinating journey and a fascinating researcher. So I put the research hat on and began to look at water. Every facet, you name it, I began to start exploring. From potable waters to river waters to borewell waters to waters pretty much around the planet, and looking at them from their non-linear dimension. So when we look at the non-linear dimension, this is the technology of gas discharge visualization. We really get vast quanta of information. Many of you may be familiar with the technology. And to understand the nature of the technology, it has gone through many iterations, but the area on which it is actually developed is based upon principles of nonlinear mathematics. And that was soon after Professor Mandelbrot had come up with the Mandelbrot set. So, of course, technology had now developed the algorithms that could use the information of the nonlinearity and imprint them into the software using, of course, Fourier transforms and Lagrangian equations. So these went through many iterations because they were also funded by some heavy government bodies. So these explorations began, and the technology was now available, not very much into the broad public, but it was became very selective. At that point, it was also fairly expensive. So I invested in the technology and began to do extensive research on water. And that
Krishna,
led me to,
and let me ask a
yes,
question. You're talking abstract for maybe people who aren't familiar with you're talking at this point about the GDV device, and what does it actually show in a very practical way so people can actually visualize what the
so can we go to page 28 of our presentation? There you go. So here is what we are actually measuring. You can see in the picture, I am essentially, there's a syringe. We have a device, the actual gas discharge visualization device, and I gather a head of water into a syringe, and then which I pass right through a sleeve, and I suspend a droplet. Now, once I suspend the droplet, I place that whole unit with the syringe, and it's about maybe 1.5 millimeters above a optical plate, an optical plate which has been with a fine level of fiber optics on it, and then we activate it into a dynamic mode. So at a dynamic mode, we give it a 10 kilovolt discharge, and during the 10 kilovolt discharge for 5 seconds at 5 frames per second, we'll get 25 frames. So this cascade of electrons that are stimulated when the moment it makes contact with the droplet, it's actually like a teardrop suspended to that droplet, it emits photons, and those photons are then captured and reproduced through a CCD camera, and we see it on the software, and that's the imprint that we are looking at. So this is a cited example, and I can pretty much say that if I were to in the thousands of studies that I've done around the world, what we are looking at, these images are pretty much very standard, where we see that every spot that you see in the frame is actually a burst of information. And that burst of information you can see, and that we end up calculating after we've gathered the raw data. So once we've gathered the raw data, the output side from our recordings will give us aspects like what is the level of intensity, and intensity would be the level of photons measured in per like square centimeter. So we are able to calculate that, and these are the calculations that are done. So where we can see that when it is passed through, this is a recent study that was done with our JIVAWATER devices that I will get more into as we proceed. But it's important to understand how the science has been a major direction and a guide to me in understanding the nature of water, understanding the characteristics of water, not only from the technical perspective, but also from my Vedic heritage, having been born in India. And Vedic science has a lot to do with everything to do with energy and the understanding of that nature of energy, and how in turn it influences every facet of life that water touches.
Krishna, can I go back and ask a question relative to that? Because when I look at world traditions as a whole, they're always talking about we moved on the face of the water. We're always, whether it's Vedic or whether it's the Western, we come from water. It moves, it does. And this dynamic of light as light beings is what we show up in our body. So our body is still a light essence made 99.9% water at a molecular level and 70% as most people understand it. But at the end of the day, the dynamic nature of the light and the emanation that we are, and that's the vitality of life that we're seeing right here.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That is very precise. It's the vitality of life.
Yeah.
And that vitality is very, very resplendent in the lower frame. So these are, mind you, now this particular one is our recent evolutionary development, because we started a company in India about just a little over 3 years ago, which I can talk to you about, our whole manufacturing facility. But prior to all this comes my 30 years of research to understand really the nature of how do we revive the energy back into the waters we use, given all the various, I would say, constraints that we have created in our waters.
Yeah. So
I can elaborate on that. Yes, go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I was just going to say, go back to Steve, if you can go back to like page 3 or 4. And that way we can start in the beginning of what's happened to our water and what we've done to, next page, what we've done to destroy the vitality of water where it comes in, whether it's farming or whether it's your own life source and everything. Yeah. So I want to go back and leave that to you, because when this was sort of developed, it was all looking at the light force of all living systems, because all of us are at a level at a biological nature, and why it is that we've corrupted so much, and why is it that we need to return back to heal the planet, to heal ourselves. Why this is what you have evolved is so vitally important.
So it brought out certain fundamental things, because consistently we began to see that treated waters pretty much around the planet, various cities, not only here within the US, but around the world, treated waters are taken away from its natural habitat.
Yeah.
So being divested away from its natural habitat and never seeing the light of day, going through long, long pipes, maybe kilometers and miles long, and then finally gets processed and then processed again through the pipes and comes out to our taps. We open it and we don't even pay any attention to the journey of water. Now, when the moment I began to look at these repetitious characteristics of water consistently around the planet, it made me reflect upon what have we done to water? What have we done to this life force, the mother and matrix of life? We have completely stripped the life force energy out of the water, which means that, which essentially means that we are drinking water, we are bathing in water that is stripped of its life force energy. It's still water.
You know, it's a funny thing. I'm sitting here, and my brother's building a new house, and they're putting reverse osmosis potentially under their sink. And I go, but your skin is the biggest organ. Steve, if you could flip the page, that'd be great. Because there are certain things that are essential that water naturally does when it is important. So Krishna, go ahead from here, because it's.
So the data was one set, which I'll get more I can get technical on it. Otherwise, that can become a separate chapter all unto itself, because it's very rich with information. Now, here we make a reference, the importance of hexagonal structures. And there is such a beautiful passage that was written by Gerald Pollack, which I'd like to read out because it's very pertinent. The hexagonal structure of water is how we all are in our mother's wombs. And there we are, from a single cell we have been gifted with this great informational intelligence that is giving us the propensity to be able to communicate, articulate, convey picturesquely to each other across the planet and maybe even beyond. Uh, and the formations of these structures create such a beautiful lattice because it's so elegantly self-organized. And that aspect of self-organization creates a joy de vivre of life. It's a joy of life because life is emotion. Life, the thriving aspect of life is love, which is the most powerful force of all the universe. And it is in a body of water. And we are predominantly that. So, with that, I'd like to read out the, the insights of dear Dr. Gerald Pollack. Water at interfaces is hexagonal and has the ability to support and protect the DNA from free radical oxidative damage and allows the DNA to function and replicate without mutation. Thus, it ensures a transfer of pure information in a harmonized manner. That's the elegance of life. This hexagonal water is the transmission medium through which information is delivered from DNA to RNA via short bursts of photons. Others have termed this as biophoton bursts or bioavailable photon interactions. The very water we are conceived in, the womb, is hexagonal in structure both inside and outside the cell.
And
Now,
I think it's, I'm going to put one little caveat in there for you. I think that's one reason why when you did the JIVA device, because we're talking about that tonight, why that's incorporated. It's an important element incorporated into JIVA.
yes, yes. And these were the insights that came through the investigations on water over this period of time, and having also done research work for just about every other water manufacturing device company in between the US, in Europe, over the decades, and giving them the reports. And I began to see many of the attributes and characteristics, and then we make reference about the word of how a wonderful scientist by the name of Ilya Prigozhin talks about dissipative structures. Structures that are able to dissipate, reorganize, which is the nature of water. And that nature of water is what I have understood from my early formative years in India.
I think there's one. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I apologize. Go ahead. Finish your sentence.
No, by my interactions with great wisdom teachers who shared with me the source code of water, and there is a particular, I would say, a communique in one of the books of the Vedas. It said, "He who knows the essence of water will know the essence of everything." And
So that goes back, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. And that goes back to, you were going to say?
No, it's kind of serves right into it. It says, serves as a highly efficient conductive for the transport of oxygen to the cells, which is vital to all living systems because it's liquid, solids, and gases. We've got the water and the oxygen, which is the gases, which is actually transporting. These are the basic elements and fundamental principles of life. So I would say, Steve, if you could turn the page. Because then we go, because that hexagonal shape is the optimum shape for transporting the oxygen in, which is utterly fundamental to life. So I'll let you. That's just my little thought. So you can take it.
So having conducted my earlier research, and then iterated with designs themselves to observe, Now and of course, they were all put into field trials. So we've got rich data from the field in just about every sector, from small agriculture, mid-sized agriculture, large agriculture, in farming, so cattle farming, in chicken farming, sheep, pigs, so various sectors from there, and all the way to even in industry. And by studying the waters, one is able to draw rich content from there. And hence, it became very, very clear that when we evoke oxygen rich waters, but a lot of this has to do with things that we will end up sharing and talking about as we go downstream, are what inspired folks like Leonardo da Vinci to bring forth the nature of designs. And we see that very well formatted into every facet of life. So, why oxygen and why create oxygen rich water? We see everything from cellular respiration to the reflection of energy production to functioning of metabolism. So, all of these require a useful resource that has the capacity to not only replenish but also to disperse used up energy. So, there is a continuous feedback loop that is always propelling. So, the intelligence of our system is continuously being revived, actuated, and thereby we come back to me, cellular respiration. I have a phrase that is very, very clear in our journey to Jiva, is our focus is to enrich the cells and enrich the soils.
I think there's one thing, there's an image that comes to mind that I've used many times, and it's like when people see a bubble or a little bubble that's just oxygen, it always implodes and then it explodes. So as it drives through your system, it's carrying its bubble, but it always ignites and explodes within the system, making it a very dynamic transfer of energy and light into the different cells and structures. And that's why one of the things is so vitally important to why oxygen is key. It's one of the major elements. So Steve, turn the page, please. Please and thank you. I think this is also a treasure trove of benefits, but I think this is for me, working with Krishna, this is one of my favorite things. Here's Krishna in the sugar canes, dancing around, collecting. This is from water that has, this has been treated with JIVAWATER. And so here he is carrying it, but there's a difference between, on the left-hand side, no vitality or very little vitality of energy. And on the right-hand side is with JIVAWATER, with the igniting oxygen within it. The dynamics, you have to remember, just want to implant, this is a really new concept for most people because they're not, without the GDV or without the biowall, you would never, ever be able to see the dynamicism of what you're literally consuming and what brings light and life to your body and what gives you energy. So right there you see, just by having that ignitingness into the cells of what you eat, that is that much more energy you're giving to your body. And that's really an amazing picture. And there's lots more to come. But
and what else? And what else too, Karen, is the luster. It's the luster. So when we look at liquid crystalline structures, which I think we are going to be covering as we proceed, the luster of, and which means the richness of light, the richness of electrons that are there, is profuse.
Yeah, and it's when you see this, because I've had this stuff in my magazine I've been doing the magazine for 12 years. I have been riveted by the dynamics of the nature of life itself. And when you see that and what we're giving, and the science that has been bringing this to fruition, I think it's amazing. So Steve, next page. Thank you.
So here we come to, again, to me, through all of this, you see light. And there is a beautiful mantra that we call the Gatri Mantra. Again, we talk about art, we talk about science, we talk about spirit. All these are engaged in the birth of Jiva. So if I speak about the spirit side of it, it has a lot to do with the power of the word, the power of thought. And the power of thought is not something that we begin to stimulate, but rather you be still and you allow it to flow. Creativity flows within you naturally. And this is what we refer to as extraordinary today. But this extraordinary nature resides in each and every one of us. And we are going to get into those details as we proceed in the journey of Jiva Water, because it is all about that may we all live to be that extraordinary. So we make a reference about the rainbow array of water. And this was a very interesting, while I was conducting research, the person who had taken that picture, you can see that there is a refraction occurring. And Karen picked that up and she loved it. And she saw that there is a characteristic of the rainbow, which a very dear person who I have known, I would say probably from the early 2000s, Dr. Mae Won Ho. She talks about the dance of water and the rainbow. But I would like to read that little passage that is incorporated here. New evidence suggests that the field, the L field, which is the life field, is generated by and embodied in the quantum coherent liquid crystalline water that makes up 70 to 90% of organisms and cells and is essential for life. So all of these began to really format in the design and development of where we are today with Jiva. And all these patterns begin to naturally flow because as we showed an earlier picture about that field experiment with sugarcane. Now they're no longer experiments. They are being conducted. Farmers across India and many now in the US, many in various parts of Europe, Australia, are all engaged in the aspect of Jiva in terms of fostering and nurturing their land and their produce, and including their animals, and more, including human consumption. You want to add anything here?
I totally do. I think what most people don't realize, which I think is critical, is we like to divide many of the different disciplines. But when we look at the light spectrum and we look at music, we look at crystallization, if you look at it, there's a 7-octave sort of sound, color, light, and crystalline structures. And we divide them. But what I'm going to invite people to do is to remember that it's one symphony showing up what part of the elephant you're looking at. So when we look at the rainbow of light, we're also looking at structure, and we're looking at the rainbow of ray of how things literally evolve through the life spectrum, which is a really beautiful thing. If you go back to maybe 2 issues of Science to Sage, you will see that all of these things are one, crystalline in a more dense form one way or the other. So when you look at the rainbow of light, it is critical to understand it is the essence of you. So when you bring the rainbow array back into the structure so it's not muddy and ugly. So if you have looked at things like Dr. Emoto's water, where things are disformed versus if they're coming from a crystalline lake, they're beautifully organized. So that's the symphony of life. So what you're actually getting with Krishna is the color, the symphony, the structure, the oxygen, which it brings it back to its really coherent and natural way. We have done so many things that we think as a man-made thing that we have a better way than something like Source, who's done it for millions and millions of years, and we're going to override it in the last 100 and make it better. And all we've done is made it worse. So I appreciate what Krishna is doing, because what they're doing is they're restoring a lot of things. So we'll see the science. We're just understanding the science of it, but we will show you the research right after that. So Steve, if you want to switch the page, because I think it's kind of shows you. I think there's one thing I want to say with it. Most people don't realize. So when I was doing my own book, what's the difference between water, air, and fire is literally the density of how any one of these interplays happen. So when you look at what you're doing with what Krishna is doing, he's bringing the fire back into it in some ways. He's bringing the oxygen back in, but he's basically being an alchemist. He's actually transforming and moving things in a way that your body will sing with. So Krishna, go for it.
See, the alchemy is the moment you surrender to the great intelligence and said, teach me because I know nothing. That itself is recalibrating everything that we have formatted in this physical world and giving ourselves completely to the supreme intelligence. So there, earlier I was sharing about the mantra called the Gatri Mantra. And the Gatri Mantra, Gatri is light, and it is directed to our great sun. No light, no life, essentially, right? So there is an invocation.
No show, no light, no show.
No show, that's right. So this is a invocation right from that early AM to the first rays of the sun, and you bathe in the first rays of the sun, where you are really setting a very clear connection. Some call it intention, some call it a purposeful, focused attention. All the above is ultimately directing so that the 30, 40 trillion cells that we have in our system get tuned to a rhythm, a harmonic. So when they are tuned to a rhythm and a harmonic, we then become naturally governed inside of the light of life itself, which is the purpose of the Gatri Mantra.
We need to, go show them that, because that's, okay, turn the page, Steve, because there's a part in here where you can literally see the momentum, but we'll go to here first. So let's move the molecules. So why vortexing, Krishna?
Now, you see, fundamentally, I think within our entire group, I mean, today we are all well informed collectively, so none of us really need any additional inputs over here.
Well, so Steve, go to another page. We know why vortexing and spin is critical. It disassociates things, it cleans things, it rebalances, and it facilitates the transfer of different stuff. So vortexing is vital. I mean, the person who I think is paramount in that industry is Victor Schellberger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And just observing the nature of water in its natural states.
Yeah.
The nature of how water flows, even as simple as our sinks, our kitchen sinks.
You know what shocked me, and I never really thought about it when I was learning about Schauberg. When we look at a stream, we goes like this, and we think, okay, well, that's no big deal. No, that's left, right, positive, negative, charge, no charge, light and dark, and shadow. So nature has a way of literally dancing between different charged fields. And that's how it replenishes itself. And, you know, like you see a side of a mountain that has lots of trees and the side that has none. There's the light and there's the dark. There's the shadow. It is, nature has a very clear balancing act.
And very precise.
Yeah, it's very precise. It's very interesting. I mean, I'm working with Walter Russell's work, and that goes back to the balancing act. Male, female, in, out, up, down, hot, cold. So, Steve, if you want to go to the next page, we did that one, Krishna. I think this one is really fun because this is something most people are really unaware of, but it's fundamental.
Now, you know, this is, I go back to my early years where early in the morning, the farmers are getting ready to go to their fields, you know, with their oxen.
Mm.
And they're all, of course, barefoot. And they go. And while they are plowing the field, they are chanting. They're chanting. And the chant has to do with, one is gratitude.
Mm.
Gratitude first to the animals. You know, providing that selfless gift of being able to walk in the land and till the land, and then their invocations harmonizing with the earth. Now, what is one picking up there? The rhythm of the earth's membrane. And the rhythm of the earth's membrane now permeates through us. And it continues to cycle. And we also know the power of our mental abilities of how we can transmit, because we are addressing very complex aspects of life when we engage our whole brain together. So the engagement of the whole brain, the engagement of your central nervous system, all the way then formatting to our matter body, which is actually a body of electrons, interconnecting with the Earth's membrane, creates a rhythmic cycle. All that is imprinting into the land. So we are seeing actual currents. We are not visibly seeing it, but we are sensing it. The more sensitive a person is, you can feel this, which is what people in medicine peoples of various cultures are very tuned to, and that's how they teach their communities.
The way, let me put this back in there, but the one thing that people can understand that was research done in our century was the understanding that there was, like as you're talking about, a resonance between us and the earth. And this one man by the name of Schuman did research, and he figured out that the bubble that we have around the earth has a particular, like a bell. It rings like a bell. This harmony that it creates, which is considered that the bubble, has a resonance. And this resonance is actually literally in tune with your heart and your brain. So the reason we're in this cavity doing what we do, singing our song, is because we actually belong to this field of resonance. We actually belong to this earth. And that is something that ancient wisdom actually understood. And so it was called the Schuman Residence. It's something that we've understood. They don't take astronauts up out of space without it. So part of the Jiva device has taken the wisdom of Earth and created that vibration within it to harmonize you with the grounded being that you are. It has harmonized you with Earth's frequency. So when you're not just taking in the light and the symphony of light, you're taking in the harmonics of the earth frequency of which you belong to. So it brings back a sense of coherence in your being and your structure. So I think that's one thing that we should know. So it's like Tesla said, if you want to know the secret of the universe, think of it in energy, frequency, and vibration. So that vibration that is like a harmony, it's like a bell that rings to us, that we're sitting in a vibration with it, which is calming. But think about music, whether it's rock and roll or Mozart. What does it make you do to your body? So being in symphony, the Jiva device brings you back into that simple, uncomplexed resonance.
Which, as we proceed with many of our field applications, we'll get to see how revival of soils have occurred based upon some of these fundamental forces that we have integrated.
So let's go, Steve, go one more page, and I think we can go past that one. And I think we're getting into the research. This one talks about the blood analyzation of what he did. So let's go to the next page, because it actually shows you the before and after. So here you go, Krishna. Why don't you explain this part?
So we can see, I'll just sort of read out to you for the baseline red blood cell response. This was a case study. The patient yesterday was a 45-year-old female who works third shift. She was very tired, coming in and ready to go home and go to bed after doing her blood work, drank Jiva water. She was energized and not tired anymore. I received a message from her this morning saying that she slept 8 hours straight. She normally only gets about 3 hours sleep without waking up. So here was her tired and fatigued cells that we are, yes, and
so the ones on the top.
On the top, both the ones on the left and the right, and you can see that the live blood study shows blood slugged and aggregated, which is lack of oxygen and power in the red blood cells. And what we see at the bottom here, after 40 minutes after drinking the water, is the red bloods after drinking the red Jiva water. The red blood cells appear to be normal, with more energy and more oxygen, and also they have become very mobile. So the motility of the cells itself, enriched with hemoglobin, is improved. Thereby, and hence the statement that she said she got to sleep for 8 hours straight instead of just 3 hours and waking up. So revival of cells is again coming back to our oxygenation. That is one part of it. But our intelligence, the intelligence of our system is connected right to a very, very fine level, right at the onset, at the point of each and every one that started as single cells. So that innate intelligence that is there inherent within ourselves has never left. All we need to do is provide it with the optimal water is of course the most important of all.
It's the transport.
Exactly. So the moment that richness is provided, nature's intelligence naturally begins to dovetail.
I'm going to say inform.
Inform, yes. It informs, and then alongside with that, what is the outcome? And we see, and this is across the entire ecosystem of a human energy field.
So Steve, skip the next 2 pages because they're blood studies, and we're going to go through just so skip, go to the next page, go to the next page. There we go.
So given the fact that one blood study, there are multiple blood studies, and they are very consistent in outcomes, very, very consistent in outcomes. So here, this is where we use the technology of bioelectrography, and many of you may be familiar with the BioWell, and this is the device where you place your finger through, and you go through all 10 fingers, and you get a energy field. And so what we are looking at here is the energy field of a person, and this was a study that was undertaken. And again, when I say a study that was undertaken, when I look at a broad spectrum of studies, let's say 100, 500,000 studies, what are the similarities that is there? What is the common denominator? So if I were to do a standard deviation, a statistical standard deviation, what would that look like? So coming from that picture, here is what we have. So
Krishna,
it
make
shows...
Krishna, make sure they know the difference between the left side and the right side.
Yeah, so we see that there are three images. Image, the one is the top, and you can see, like almost in a shadow, the image of a person facing you. And all this after drinking 1 liter of Jiva water and measured an hour later. So we see on the left-hand side, the energy field shows an increase from 18% to 30%.
So I'm gonna stop you, Krishna. If you look at on the left-hand side is before they drank Jiva water, on the right side is after. And if you notice on the left side, it's more jagged, and on the right side, the energy field is more smooth. But also, I'm going to say, if you know anything about the Jiva device, you'll also know where the energy field goes in and out is relative to the issues you have in your tissues. So whether it's your knees, your legs, or this or that, your head. So, and then just so people have a general, and because you've known it for so long, Krishna, I thought I'd just put the
Well, I thank you for that. I thank you. Much and deeply appreciated. And Karen, you have spot on.
Thank you.
on the interpretation here. But more important, again, we see that how the energy values have increased. Not only is the strength of the energy field, but the uniformity, but more important is to raise the level of energy in a person. And to most people, they say, just by drinking water? You see, this is where we have disconnected from our deep understanding about water, because we have looked at water as a commodity. Now, for too many decades, I think the level of that awareness is starting to improve. For many of us, especially here in the US, to really connect with the aspect of water, energy, life. Water, low energy, well, we are still going to chug along like the little pony engine, but we may not always get there. But there's going to be a strong level of output to maintain any kind of dynamic homeostasis.
So Steve, take the next page, because he'll show you how he continues to show that vitality. Here's another one.
So we see the energy reserves. These charts show energy reserve. And what they are really reflecting is what is the capacity of retention of energetic information inside of the ecology of a biofield, of a human biofield, organs on the left side of the body, organs on the right side of the body, and we see that they were increased. And increased from 36% to 75%. And that is very, very significant, because the person said, I feel so alive now, because this is an example of she is an engineer, about little in her upper 20s, and has been working very, very hard in very creative projects, very creative engineering projects, and very sparse level of sleep. So degree of exhaustion was also very high, which is what is observed. Then after having taken the water, and you can see this on this particular chart, with the alignment of chakras on the top increased from 77% to 87%. But more important is, if you look down at the bottom right hand side, the first one is the chakras prior to drinking the water and post drinking 1 liter of Jiva water. Not only do you see uniformity in the size after drinking Jiva water, and I will emphasize something very, very particular here, is that the innate intelligence of the system and the innate intelligence when we provide water that is rich with information for life to thrive, all you do is take it in. And nature does the rest. We are nature. So
one comment on that one. Some people in the Western world don't really relate to chakras, but here's what I'd like to bring into the thought form for them: is
Sure.
your vagus nerve runs down from the head all the way down, and your vagus nerve attaches to every one of your organ systems. And it's not something that we're in the West used to thinking, but if you think of your throat as you're breathing, or you think of your heart, or you think of your gut, which is exactly what these relate to, within your nervous system, then what it's actually asking you to understand is within your nervous system, which one of these energy points are out. Are you speaking your truth? Are you comfortable in your heart? Is your gut working? And as you get more centered and as your system is charged, it's able to function and have a sympathetic response to your environment better. So it's showing the harmony within the organ structures within your body. It's a way for a Western mind who may not understand this to understand that this is part of your nervous system, the spine, and how it connects to the various organs. I think that's one way to simply understand it for a Western mind. So go ahead, Krishna.
No, so essentially, from a very fundamental direction, is we are cosmic antennas, each and every one of us. We are cosmic antennas that receive and transmit. We saw the earlier illustration of the barefoot on the land. So we are continuously receiving information, not only from our feet, but also receiving information from above. So these form toroidal waves. And these toroidal waves amplify as our sensitivity increases and when our system is fine-tuned. And fine-tuning is why are we biologically 70% water, 70 to 75% water. Then if you speak with some wonderful physicists, they will also share deep insights to say that we are 99.99% a liquid crystal.
Christian, you made me think of, because I've been working on something else, it made me think of the aurora borealis. So our Earth is constantly taking in information from its crown, from the cosmos, back in and recirculates the energy from outer space to its inner space. And we as ourself with our own energy system take in information from our outer space, our environment, and to our inner space, some of it better than others. That's why I say hang out better with better people that make you feel a certain way, because it is that field is your field. The field, you're fielding it. So when you look at this and you take beautiful information into your system, literally bring it into your system that alivens it, you're inviting the opportunity to be as balanced as you can be. You can see it's not perfectly aligned right there, but wow, what a correction right off the bat. So that's one thing. So Steve, next page, please. Yeah, there you go, Krishna. Because this just amplifies more of what you're saying.
So here we begin to look at sympathetic, parasympathetic information, and we have stress and energy. These are the two bars. So the orange bar is the pre, and the violet bar is post. So, and then you got the grid at the bottom. So the top chart is the stress chart, and you can see that after the darker green, it goes into, would you call that like a slight mauve colored? And you can see that the orange bar is higher and trending outside of the dark green range, which is where the optimal energy level is. So the stress level has dropped, and energy level has increased significantly. All this by drinking 1 liter of Jiva water, and 1 hour later and 1 hour later. I mean, it could have been done within half an hour, but I wanted to give a longer duration of time because this lovely young being has, you could tell, she was quite fatigued to begin with.
Next
So,
page. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that too quick? Oh, that's back, Steve. Keep going forward. Yeah. There you go.
So these are, again, the depth of data that we obtain from the 10 fingertips out here are so significant that it gives us a real clear snapshot as to what is occurring inside not only every organ system, but here was a digestive system, because we know the importance of gut. And we also know the importance of how the gut plays to our essential well-being. So the pink to the orange is what we term as hypofunction, which is already pretty much there. The green zone is the normal zone, and above the green zone is like a cream colored, which is the hyperfunction zone. So we can see that the bar of 3, which is, if you amplify it a little more, we can see exactly what the organ systems are, if you can. Otherwise, it has to do with the digestive system and where it engages the liver. And the liver is the one is in the middle. The middle chart is the liver. And you can see the liver was fairly well balanced. And now, after having drunk the water, you can see that there's been a surge of energy in the liver, and the organ on the left-hand side, the first one and the second one, how they have been boosted.
Okay, next page.
So now we look at very valued information here about our endocrine system. And this, of course, has everything to do from the pituitary gland, the thyroid, the pineal, and we see that most of them are not only in the hypozone to begin with, and those that are highlighted between, especially the last 3 in the top chart, have a big separation between the left and the right. So that big separation between the left and the right shows that there is excess work and thereby fatigue in the system. See what the level of Jiva water did. As nature's intelligence seeks to naturally harmonize. And that's exactly what has taken place internally with the entire endocrine system, which means that functioning of cognitive functions, cognitive thinking, all are enhanced.
Next page, Steve.
Well, this, we couldn't get more important than this ever. And here we are. We can see now the value of the immune system, not that they are that dispersed away between the left and the right side, but look what happened after the water. Both of them not only are in the green zone, but they have boosted the collective energy of the water. And on the top of the page, you see that is one of our devices, which is a portable handheld device. We'll get more into it as we progress.
Okay, next page, Steve. I'm going to go a little bit faster, Krishna, only because we've been for about an hour already. So, and I want to get into, and I want to get into the farming and stuff. So I think we can talk about kind of seeing, I think, generally overall what we see an improvement in everything else. Is there anything you want to say to this?
Yeah. So we can see that what we saw in the first set, middle set, the third set, and the last one. The last one is the chakras, which is the energy centers. The band in the middle. So we can see the orange is the pre and the violet is the post. All of them have increased. So which means that the collective strength of the entire human energy field has raised. The bar is raised.
Yeah.
And
So for the,
now,
for the humanoid, we're much more enhanced by the benefits of what you've done and how you've created the Jiva water system.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So Steve, next one. Okay,
And
we
this,
did this. We did
yes.
this one. Okay, so Steve, go one more. This one's kind of fun. Real quick.
Ah, so here again we are looking at the light's force in water itself. The top picture is about doing Brix measurement. Brix is a device, a Brix meter, is how we can measure the nutrific content of a fruit or a vegetable by taking a drop or two onto a glass disc, and then there's a refractive, then you cover it and you get a refractive index, and that refractive index gives you a measurement. And these are measurements that are used when by companies like orange, the ones who make orange juices,
Okay.
pomegranate juice, like that. And then we look at the normal water and river water. You see the normal water in a 5-second dispersion, there is no life at all, nothing, because it's blank. And in the river water, we see that that image is very, very bright. And of course, the bottom chart you see is that's the way we treat our waters today. We send them through, and of course, we traumatize the water. We don't think of water and trauma at all. But water gets trauma. It is able to hold that information, and thereby it loses its life energy. And this is very symbolic to life itself.
It is. Okay, next one, Steve. And yes, it is, because water does hold memory. So we're going to go through this part. Has to do. This is fun because go to the next page though, because I think we'll show pictures. Thank you. There you go.
So this was a study that was done by a large research organization, and this large research organization chose paddy. Paddy is again the staple food across India predominantly, and what they found was that the yield per acre of land, which was with normal water 800 kgs, with Jiva water was about almost 25% more, or 27% more increase. And more important, that they were able to reduce the use of pesticide by 7%. And they also gave a very clear direction to the farmers that it will be their benefit to use Jiva water, because not only does the yield increase, but the soil is also revived, which we will see as we proceed in the next few slides.
I think you have less pesticides. And I think I know from what I've learned is the healthier the plant, the less the bugs go for it. So when you're actually having charged alive water that's actually creating the nutrients for it, there's less likely to need the pesticide. So next one, Steve.
And this one is turmeric. And again, with turmeric, it's the same with these are bore well water systems, and then with Jiva water, we can see that number one, the increase in yield from 4 tons to 5.5 tons. But the very important part of it was curcumin. The curcuminoids, which are the terpenes, increase from 0.57% to 0.85%. And that's a huge margin in the curcuminoids. That's almost close to a 50% increase. And a almost 3x increase in essential oil.
Next one.
Now, this was in a hydroponic facility where we saw that the condition of the spinach, number one, we can see the richness of the color of the spinach given Jiva water, and the increase in the weight per plant was from 104 grams to almost 150 grams.
Next page. Oh, this is the fun one. Okay, go to the next page because this is from Krishna's garden, but you have to see the yield. You have to see the comparison. This is brilliant.
Now, my entire garden here in Taos. So the one on the left-hand side, we see that's a store-bought tomato. It's a commercial tomato, and a tomato with JIVAWATER. And you can see the richness, the flavor, the texture, the quality, the brightness, which is again the richness of light, because ultimately what we do, what we eat light.
And people don't think about it. Geometry is like chemistry. It's a formation, and it gives you a structure that you're actually understanding, whether it's water or hydrogen or it's all chemistry. So when you actually look at your food, you need to look at it. What geometry is that? And you can see, look at the bigger, bolder part in that tomato and the red juiciness of it. I saw that and I thought, I think you need to go sell that to the buffalo burgers you've been eating. Okay, next page.
There, these are, again, to me, it became very, very important to look at just about every aspect of the garden and study and look at their light emanations. So this is, again, the light emanation of a pod, of a datura pod that you can see at the bottom. Rich, dynamic colors.
Yeah, next page, because it does the same thing.
And this is a sweet pea.
Okay, Krishna,
But more important,
the bottom quote is too cool. You've got to read that bottom quote.
More important is this deep inspiration of Max Planck. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I think this has a lot to do with the way our whole system of education has entrained us. So for us to rewire ourselves, we need to have a refreshing way of looking at life at large.
So when you go to the grocery store and you buy your canned food and you think you're getting nutrition, I just want to remind you, you're not eating light. You're eating dead food. Now what you get to see here is light, what you consume, and your body is a being of light, and why you need to literally give yourself light. It charges your body. Next page. That was like, yeah. So soil.
So this is where we shared and spoke of earlier, is how the characteristic of the water, which again goes back to my earlier research, and looking at slugged waters, because a lot of our waters today are very slugged, high level of salts in them, and that same water with salts pass through one of our devices. I have a device with us over here that I can show you. See, it's this one. This device is called Vipasa, which you can see when you go to our website. So the farmer connected his borewell pipe into here. This is the inlet coming out and going out into the land. And after that one crop cycle, here's what he came across. Not only did he see no sedimentation on the soil, but the soil was very fluffy rather than cracked, like what you see on the left-hand side. And not only that the soil organic carbon in there was increased by quite a significant percentage, which was very, very refreshing to the farmer, knowing that it takes a lot of time, like 5 to 10 years, to even raise soil organic carbon by 1%.
Okay, there's a couple of things that I recognize in here. One, if you think of your skin and it gets dry and it gets cracked, it's not hydronate. It's not what's that word? Hydronated. I can't even say it.
Hydrated.
It's like my brain went, okay. And you can see the other side is hydrated. So not only when we put chemicals and things on our own body, that's the same result. And so what Krishna is actually displaying here is when you actually hydronate your skin. I didn't say it right again.
Hydrate your skins.
You can see that it's exactly the same function as above, so below. So it's beautiful. Next page.
Here we talk about certain fundamental aspects of life. Is that why why does the soil's ability to retain water today is almost lacking? It's because we have excessive use of fertilization. We have burnt our soils. And these are the soils that the farmers have been accustomed to planting now for decades, So, because they don't know any other. And so you see the rootstock and how it still grows. The farmers are used to it for over decades. And now the same soil, we haven't asked the farmers to cut down on their fertilizer unless they feel it is necessary. And many farmers have taken the strong initiative, especially on crop cycles 2, 3, 4, 5. They have cut down their fertilizer use by up to 30%. And they feel they can push the bar even higher because they are looking at their rootstock growth, which is more prolific, and healthier plants. And healthier plants give you healthier output because their immunities are better.
So most people would assume that you would need more water to do that, but actually you use less. So why don't you explain that?
So the main reason for this is that the permeability of water into the soil goes deeper. So the deeper the water retention is in the soil, the less watering, the less hydrating the soil is necessary.
You know what that reminds me of, Krishna? We talked about the hexagonal shape, and the hexagonal shape was one thing that it said it transported the information much more efficiently than just being any kind of structure. So for me, when I look at electrical structures, lots of times they're very hexagonal. When you look at something like a honeycomb, so you're actually bringing in an intelligent information in its geometry, in form, into the soil.
Very true. Very true.
And so it hydrates, it oxygenates, it enlivens, it sparks. So it's kind of like when farmers like a thunderstorm because it has that charge in the sky. So what you're really doing is you're bringing back the charge.
And it's activating the very membrane of the earth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next page, Steve.
Well, these little fellows out here, the little chickies to the wonderful cows that provide us with milk, everyone is enriched because their cells are enriched, their immunity, and because of their ability to drink more jiva water, they feel well. They feel very healthy, and because they are that feeling is there, they find the farmers and the owners of these facilities have also seen lesser consumption of food.
Oh, why is that?
Because if they are strong and they feel good, they don't want to eat as much.
Interesting. Okay, I think there's another picture on the next page. Steve, flip the page. Okay.
So here we see again in larger applications, soil organic carbon increasing, and in industry where there are quite a lot of our devices in industry of water that goes into boilers in various types of processing and treatment plants and food aggregation plants. There, the reduction of scaling in the pipes has been a very strong one. And even the effluent water coming out of the boilers, where they always wanted to create gardens. They could not grow gardens before, but after having installed our devices, they were able to plant flowering flower beds. They even cultivated rosemary. And one of the aspects that are very key critical factor is the chemical oxygen demand reduced by using Jiva water. And so there is a value percentage out there, 9%.
Most people think carbon, they've been told, is very bad, but some of our soils seem to be very depleted of carbon. So what do you do with that? And can you explain what it is we need to understand about that and how you bring that back to life?
See, carbon is the lifeblood of life, no?
We're carbon-based beings, so yes.
Yeah. Carbon is the lifeblood of life. When we are depleted of carbon, we deplete ourselves of the ability to and revive life.
Okay.
Now, we are speaking of carbon at a very organic level here, which means that it has the ability and the structure for creating a bed that can bring forth more microbiome activity. And microbiome activity is what we are missing today in our soils. You don't see earthworms in our soils. You don't see the aspect where the ability of carbon nitrogen cycles unless you're creating a regenerative level of agriculture. And now we begin to address aspects of regenerative agriculture here.
Beautiful. Next page, Steve. Okay, so here's the exploration of the. Go to the next page because we got home and plant stuff, but just so people understand what the devices actually look like.
So these are the devices. This is the one that you are looking at in the top called Yami, and you can hold it in the palm of your hand, literally like that. See, there, literally there. Now we got it in the palm of your hand, and let's see, here it is.
And I think the only difference between that and the next one is that you can actually screw it on your.
And the other one is, so we created a similar one with thread. There's threads on this, but there are no threads on this.
So this one you just hold it.
Correct. This is the one, this is the Yami, and this is the Yami G.
And the Yami G can attach to your sink, it can attach to your shower and things like that, or even if you have a sprinkler device outside for your plants.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And then the next one, you have a unit, I know, Krishna, that goes for the house. So, for example, the thing that I think is interesting with the house is that you can put it in and your shower. People don't think of your skin as being the biggest organ in your body. So you don't want those fluorides. You don't want those chlorine, which it doesn't filter. But if you have a filtering and then you have this and you oxygenate, you actually have the optimum, but the biggest organ in your body.
And this is the Jiva Vipasa. And the Jiva Vipasa passes about 9,000 liters per hour through.
Yep.
You got a entry port and you got the exit. So these get threaded right into where the inlet water comes into your home, if it's being applied to your homes.
Yeah, and then you have some for farming.
And then we have larger units, from 30,000 liters per hour to 55,000 liters per hour.
Steve, you can flip the page. I think it's in the next one. So you can just see they're bigger. So some are for farming, some are for agriculture, some are for lawns and things like that. So they've made them so they can hit every place that water comes out of. There you go.
Yes, from apartment complexes to independent homes, golf courses, large agriculture, industry, and of course, water is used everywhere.
I think he needs to go in every school and every hospital.
That would be very beneficial. Actually, they're already in motion.
Are they? I think that's beautiful. Okay, next page. Because I think it just kind of shows you what the different devices look like. The attention to the detail. They hired an amazing man out of, I think, Indonesia, was a top-notch designer to sort of help to evolve these.
He's one of the top designers of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Yes.
So next page. Because I know we're running, these are testimonials. You can find these everywhere on the site. So flip one more. People love these. And then you can go find about Krishna more. Keep going one more. And I think there is a global initiative, which I think is really important that people understand. We need to really revive our planet. And, this is one of the tools that we all have that can make
May I read this out?
Yes, go for it.
This is our global initiative, alongside with my partner, who ran an industry for about 30 plus years. And he was the chairman of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Srinivasan, right? And to us, it became very clear that our vision for Jiva is that let it touch everywhere that water is utilized. So our initiative is this. This is almost as a statement to the world. We stand before you with a visionary initiative, one that harmoniously melds ancient wisdom and cutting-edge technology. This endeavor offers a transformative solution to one of humanity's most pressing challenges, the revitalization of our planet's vital waters. Drawing profound inspiration from the rivers of ancient India, we proudly introduce the JIVAWATER devices, a groundbreaking initiative meticulously crafted to breathe new life into water bodies worldwide. At JIVAWATER, we hold a steadfast commitment to enhancing water for all living systems, from humans to farms. Our dedication to safeguarding a planet's life-giving waters is unwavering, rooted in a deep respect for nature's wisdom. By embracing this initiative, we embark on a collective journey to not only restore but also safeguard the heartbeat of all ecosystems, thereby ensuring a brighter, more sustainable future for us all. JIVAWATER stands as a beacon of hope, a true life force for the restoration of ecosystems, offering a promise of renewed vitality and prosperity for our planet. Aho.
Aho. And I think the last page you can turn to, and Steve, and then after that, I'm sure you're going to put the link to the website. There's a code there if you want it. But
and the QR code, yes, would be very adequate.
There's a QR code if you want to. And also, I'm sure Steve will link this. So, Steve, you want to pull yourself back in to the conversation here?
Yeah.
Any thoughts or questions you have?
Well, you need to send me the contact information where you want people to go to get more of this.
Okay, we'll do. I think there's jivawater.com. There's also the QR code. And if people are interested in the biowell, they should go to KrishnaMadappa.com or GDV
USA.org.
Right? Yeah, go ahead and say that one more time, Krishna.
Oh, GDVUSA.org.
Yeah. Super. And thank you, Steve, for the opportunity to share something that we think is kind of groundbreaking. So I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Well, I'm interested in getting one of those devices.
Doesn't it sound it? I have one. And when I was at your conference, the last show you had was Ralph. And Ralph had us do our blood before we actually got on his bed. And the ladies looked at me and said, "Oh my God, why is your blood so good?" And then I was looking at Krishna's pictures of the before and after, and I've been using the Jiva for a year, and that kind of made me smile because it made me go, "I know why my blood looks so darn good." I have the Jiva device.
Well, we have a question here.
Yeah.
From Paul Zmitter. I take it you use vortices to structure the water. How do you create the vortices and are magnets involved?
Well, we do live in an electromagnetic universe. I mean, that's a very broad statement, but we do not use any magnets at all in here. The aspect related to the spins inside comes from a very proprietary technology that we've incorporated into our devices. Thereby, and that's what occurs inside of this chamber when the water passes through.
Okay, can drinking Jiva water help protect the body against harmful EMFs from cell phones, computers, Wi-Fi, etc.?
No, thank you, Maria. That's a very, very thoughtful question. The feedback we have obtained from many folks, because we live in a massive EMF smog, depending on where we are. The we've done readings on people with such, and they find that their blood has improved because of the oxygenation. And more important than that is when your energy field is, let's say, well, vital, your immunity is vital, we have the natural ability to be able to buffer ourselves because our fields extend. Our fields naturally extend. So I can probably share with you definitely that it will support you. Yes.
I'm going to add to that because I'm energy sensitive and I do drink the water. But the other thing I do is on the internet I actually have bought myself a cape. It's a Faraday kind of cape that's like a female cape. Nobody would know what it is. That supports me because I'm on the computer all day long when I do graphics and I do the magazine. So I do both. I drink the water and I do other things as well. So I think it's a good buffer. But I think there are other things you could do to add to it as well, because it depends where your neighborhood and how intense it is. If you're in the middle of the city, and you're inundated in an apartment, it makes a big difference. But it's a good buffer.
My question would be: I have like a Brita. I use a Brita pitcher. So what would I do? Pour the Brita pitcher into this device?
Yeah.
Oh. If she has a Brita picture, then with this, you just pour the water right through. And the water coming out of here, you can either take this, keep them in glass bottles, store the water from here in glass bottles, or if you're drinking water and you're at home, the way I do it here, I have a glass jug. I have the water through here in the glass jug, and that's the water that the family drinks all day long.
Well, I don't drink plain water too much. What I drink is tea. I have a herbal tea.
Yes.
And that's what I generally drink. So I imagine this would be okay with that.
Actually, Steve, I have to tell you, it'll make it smoother. I'm sitting here with my family in Tennessee, and my brother has just taken a liking to it. I'm not sure if I'm many people to take it home. And he loves it. And I had him try it with the wine. It smooths the wine. It smooths the water. It smooths the tea. He's like sold. He loves it.
Huh. So how much do those devices cost?
So this unit that we call, it's all on the website.
Okay.
When you go to the QR code, this one, that is the handheld portable unit, is $250.
Wow.
And the larger unit, this one is $575.
Yeah, that one's the buy, but that one actually attaches to your home. And if you can attach something to your home, that's your best bargain.
I live in an apartment, so.
Yeah, well, you're like me. I live in a place where I rent too, so I can't attach it. So, yeah.
So does a metal container change this?
Well, depends upon the type of metal container you use and how long you're going to keep the water there, dear Paul. So, so if let's say you had a stainless steel container, and if you had a stainless steel container, as long as you are utilizing the water within a 24-hour cycle, I think the water will retain its information.
Okay. So with that, I think it's about time to go. So I'll put trying to think, I don't have a thing, for your address and that.
Krishna, you have two things. One, Krishna can send you the 2 email links. That's one. That was the gvd.usa.com, krishnamadappa.com. There's the link which links it to the magazine that I created that you're looking at the whole time, and that will give you all the information.
Yeah, and I should put this description of the talk on Steve's place, which you guys can go back and look at anytime on YouTube.
Okay, so you had Steve. I think you have the link already to the magazine because that's what you used. and I can resend it to you if you want it from the iIssue. And then Krishna can send you the 2 links to himself as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the QR code will does it all. I mean, today I think we are all accustomed with QR codes.
Okay, with that, I'm going to call it a wrap, and I want to remind people again, if you're not a member, join. If you like the show tonight, please do and give us a thumbs up. And then we have one more comment here. Where did the name Jiva come from?
So Sid, thank you. Jiva is a Sanskrit word for the energy of life.
And okay, so be sure to join. Be sure to hit your subscribe if you're not subscribed. That's free. And be sure to hit the thumbs up button to give us a good rating with the search engines here. And come to the conference. Sign up for the conference. And thank you all for coming. But that's a wrap, and I'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, thank you. Thank you all.